Hi, I'm Dr. Avis Williams, the proud superintendent of NOLA Public Schools, and this is Education Elevation, a series of conversations with leaders from throughout our community as we discuss how we elevate education. Hi, and welcome to Education Elevation. I am right here with Larry Washington, who is the president of Junior Achievement of the Greater New Orleans area. Did I say that right?
You did.
Right. Okay, great. So, as superintendent, one thing that I pride myself on, and I know is necessary in my work, is to partner with a lot of different organizations, and especially organizations that do a lot to support our children.
Absolutely.
And to support our community. And I won't get deep into my background with Junior Achievement, but let's just say as an elementary principal, JA Day was one of my favorite days.
I love
ever.
to hear it.
Yes. So tell us about Junior Achievement. Tell us the mission of your organization and the services and supports you provide for our community.
Sure. So Junior Achievement is an organization that's been around for a long time, and many people don't recognize or understand that. Collectively, we've been around for over 100 years, here in New Orleans for almost 70 years. And what we do is we're committed to teaching young people about entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and working career readiness.
Nice.
And we do that in tons of different ways. You mentioned the Day with JA, where we have volunteers going to classrooms,
Yes.
teaching young people K to 12 about entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and work readiness. We also do all we can to connect business and industry with young people in every which way they need to be connected. And then naturally, what we also focus on is how do we make the most financially literate and financially capable young people possible in our community. And that's one of the things we're really, really proud and excited about.
Yeah, so I know from my perspective, for a long time, I thought Junior Achievement was just for elementary age. So what grades or age groups do you serve?
That's a fantastic question. We pride ourselves on doing programming K to 12.
Okay.
And so when you think about what we do at elementary school, we have a program that is correlated to each grade level. So the things that young people are learning inside their classrooms, the programs of Junior Achievement make them relevant. And so they get to see the real life applicability.
Yeah.
We then move on to middle school, where you're starting to expose young people more to career pathways and what those options will look like for them moving forward. And then we also have programming at high school, which really cements those fundamental lessons in entrepreneurship, work readiness, and this exposure for career pieces. I think one of the things I'm really excited about is over the last couple of years, we've now committed ourselves to going beyond K-12.
Okay.
When we think about some of the things that JA teaches, lots of times college-age students don't understand these things or have not been exposed to these things, and young adults have not been exposed to those things. And so what we've tried to do is commit ourselves to provide financial literacy programming and career exposure pieces to college-age students, to those young people between the ages of 16 and 25 who are either disconnected from education and work. How are we now connecting them in a more significant sort of way and preparing them to make the best and most appropriate choices for the pathways that they choose moving forward.
Yeah, I love that because we talk in education a lot about college and career readiness, and I think the term that we use now, or the phrase that we use now, is college, career, and life. And that's one of the things I also love about Junior Achievement, that you know how in school, and we all did this, you have to ask, why do I have to know this, right? And I think for me, Junior Achievement really solidifies why students need to know math, why you need to be a proficient reader, because it connects it directly to real life experiences. Would you say that's the case?
Absolutely. And I would say that's probably the thing I'm most proud of with our work, is that we do take those things that young people would traditionally say, to your point, why am I going to spend my time on this?
Right.
And we're able to show them the real life applicability of those things, particularly when we think about how we connect those things that they're learning to their future career choices. And lots of times young people don't know what they don't know. And when we expose them, they get those aha moments that say, all right, now this makes sense. And I think even with our curriculums, with the volunteers we bring into classrooms, with the experiences we create for young people, it makes all those things relevant for them.
Yeah, that's so great. You mentioned financial literacy, and this is an area that, when we start talking to community members, even business leaders, and we think about some of the skills that our scholars maybe leave school without, and financial literacy is one that oftentimes comes up. Of course, I was talking to some community members not too long ago. They were like, kids don't even know how to write a check. And of course, in my head, I was thinking, well, I haven't written a check in a minute
in
myself,
20 years.
Right? Yeah. And so financial literacy looks different now than it did 20 years ago. But what's the role that JA plays in that? And especially as we know, we've got some state statutes and laws in place where financial literacy is going to be part of a graduation requirement moving forward.
I think that the easiest thing that I can say is we fill the gap.
Okay.
Right? When you think about, to your point, folks saying when kids leave school, they should be financially capable. Mm-hmm. They should have all the personal finance and financial literacy they need. We help fill that gap for schools. Mm-hmm. And so right now, with the state having mandated that the class, the ninth grade class that's going into high school next year, graduate with some sort of financial literacy credit, and by credit mean a full year of financial literacy programming, we have the curriculum for that. Not only do we have the curriculum for that, but we also have the supplemental activities that young people can use to help cement those things for them. And so currently we're working across the state to, one, just position ourselves as that resource for schools. You know, I started this conversation by saying we're an organization that's been around for 100 years. Yeah. And of course I'm biased, but I like to think we've been around for so long because we know what we're doing, particularly in this space. And we want to be able to lessen that burden on schools to have to figure it out. We've figured it out already for you. Yeah. And so we've worked very closely with JAUSA because, again, we are a worldwide organization. We've worked very closely with JAUSA to map out all the things that need to be taught in that curriculum, and we put them together in a nice, pretty package. And we're here to tell schools, take advantage of this. We've got it here for you. Yeah. And one thing I'm always careful about saying, but I'll say it here, I go out and fundraise on my own for my programming. Okay. And so I'm not going to schools trying to sell them anything. Yeah. I'm trying to be a true resource to them. And I like to say a very valuable resource. We just need to make those connections. Yeah.
So are the resources free to schools, or are there some things they have to pay for?
No. The resources are free to school. Okay. Now, we'll say this. If a school wants to help me fundraise for it, I'm not going to say no, right?
Absolutely.
But the cost will never be the reason why students don't have access to it. And so I'll do all the things that I can with our network to go out and fundraise to make sure that it's available to all of our schools. Okay.
So kind of break down your programming, because I know you provide resources to schools, and I'm assuming a lot of that would take place at the schools. But then your office is amazing in terms of being one of the best field trips that I think children can take. So talk about the various ways that you engage.
Absolutely. So each year, or this year, we're going to reach probably somewhere between 36 and 40,000 students. Okay. And I should kind of explain the footprint in which we do that. We cover 13 parishes here in the state of Louisiana, an additional 4 counties in southern Mississippi. Wow. And so within that geographic area is where we deliver this program to those students. When we look at that number of 36 to 40,000 that we'll reach this year, about 23,000 will happen inside of the classroom. Okay. Meaning we're recruiting volunteers from businesses, we're recruiting volunteers from the community to go in and deliver the curriculum that we've created and that we've trained them to deliver. Okay. And that's what you talked about with the Day with JA. Yeah. Now, beyond that, we have lots of experiences that we like to provide to students. And I'll highlight 3 of them just for the sake of time. One, BizTown, which is at our office, and it's a simulated city where 5th graders go through a curriculum inside their classrooms. They're learning what it means to be a good citizen. They're learning what it means to work together, and they're learning what it means to kind of take on the life of adults. Okay. And they come to the city. They run it for a day. It starts with the CEO of every business going to the Capital One Bank to get a business loan, and the goal is that they pay back that loan by the end of the day. Gotcha. And so the kids are paid by check twice throughout the experience. They have debit cards, and believe it or not, they have a checkbook, which I always chuckle about because I've never written a check in 20 years. Right. But it gets them to understand all the facets of financial literacy and personal finance. And again, the goal of that is that they pay back that business loan by the end of the day. And you can imagine all the aha moments that happen over the course of that simulation with students. Another that we have is for high school students called Finance Park. Okay. And for me, that's a capstone of financial literacy, where students come to a facility, they get a fictitious life scenario where you may be, 20, single with 2 kids working fast food, making 20 grand a year, or you could be singled and agreed, making 90 grand a year. Gotcha. And no matter what that situation is, you have to go out and live life. Okay. So you're looking for housing, you're finding transportation, and the goal is that you end the day with a balanced budget. Yeah. And I think the funniest thing about that is it's usually easier for the kids with the less resources to balance their budget
to figure it out
than the kid with more resources, because he's buying the best car, the best house, etc. But again, at the end of the day, the point is that the kids balance their budget, and probably more important than that, they do some reflection and say, all right, how do I not end up?
Do they do that at BizTown, or where do they do that?
Well, Finance Park is a mobile unit, so we can take it out wherever we need to go. We also have a virtual version of it. People ask me that all the time. Ask me that all the time.
I mean, honestly, it sounds like it would be a good retreat for adults.
It would be.
Just to be able to engage in a way where they're having to think critically about stuff that we may not think about.
May not think about it, exactly. Or that we've learned from failure.
Yeah, that's
you know
right.
What I mean? And so, and maybe I'm going to write that one down. Maybe we do try to do Finance Park with adults. But again, so they do some reflection and say, how do I not end up in this space, making $20,000 a year, working fast food single, right?
Yeah.
And then the last thing I'll talk about is we do a program called Trust Your Crazy Ideas, which is meant to inspire young people to think entrepreneurially and think about how do they observe the problems around them and come up with solutions for those problems from an entrepreneurial lens. And that program culminates with them competing for $80,000 in scholarships for themselves and funding for their schools to continue entrepreneurship programming.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, and that's a program we started here 10 years ago. And now we've pushed it out across the state of Louisiana and now into Mississippi.
Wow, and it's called Trust Your Crazy Idea?
Yep.
I love it. So I was at Baby Ben earlier and talking to some scholars about what are their hopes and dreams. And one young scholar, he was so amazing. He really wants to be an event planner. And I told him, I said, you could do that now. And so do you have young people who have these what some might call crazy ideas, but business ideas? How do they engage with something like that to be able to participate in the contest?
That's an awesome question. So with the Trust Your Crazy Ideas Challenge, it is just a pitch competition. So they make a pitch and they're done. What we've done now is because we realized that we would prepare these young people to make these really great pitches. And then we said, all right, kid, you're done, and move on. And so now we've started something we call Jay's Startup, which is actually a program meant to take these real ideas that young people have, whether they're the crazy ideas of developing some app that changes the world, or if it's a young person that wants to open up an event planning service, right? Where they can then pitch to compete for funding to seed their business, whether that means to start that business or scale that business.
Wow.
And so currently we're doing that with young people ages 16 to 25. But possibly the next iteration could be, well, we are working with students from Baby Ben to say, all right, you've got this really great idea. Let's help you get that thing off the ground. And in addition to the funding that we're providing to young people, we're providing real and true mentorship from real entrepreneurs who can say, all right, these are the challenges you're facing. This is how we resolve those challenges for you. And so we're not just giving them money and leaving them on their own. We're giving them the dollars, but then supporting them as they scale and grow their business.
I love that. A lot of the conversations I have with our young people, our scholars, are about social justice. And we have a podcast and a town hall series called Voices of Future Leaders. And we talk about social justice issues. And of course, it's low-hanging fruit in terms of what's, I guess, most relevant is sometimes around mental health and crime. We even talk about environmental justice. But I think that financial literacy, economic development, the wealth gap, all of those fit into a space that are social justice issues.
Absolutely.
How do you unpack that with your work, or how do you see JA being a part of the solution?
Well, and of course this is anecdotal, right? Because I've not done all the scientific research, right? But I'm a firm believer that when we look at all the issues that are facing our city right now, particularly as it relates to young people, it's rooted into some really specific things. One, a lack of equity and economic access to things. It's rooted in a lack of financial capability. It's rooted in the inequities in education, right? And so when I think about the things that JA can do, when we are providing young people access to high-wage, high-growth careers through our work readiness programming, when we're able to teach those young people how, once you get an income, this is how you manage that income to live the choice-filled life that you want to live, that starts to bridge some of that gap, whether it's the wealth gap, whether it's the things that we see happening with crime. Those things start to reduce because we're giving young people real purpose and a plan to actually access that purpose. And I think the work that we do does that in many different ways. And so, I pride myself on knowing that the more we invest in giving young people purpose and giving them the tools to realize that purpose, manage that purpose, the better off we are individually, society, as a society and a community. And I think we have a huge role to play with that with JA.
Yeah, I love that. You know, I hear a lot of young people say they want a good job and to make a lot of money, but to be able to be proficient at understanding what that means to have a quality of life.
Right.
You know, I mean, 'cause some of what you said reminds me of, you know, the fact that we know we have a lot of celebrities who make all of this money and then end up filing bankruptcy because they're not managing their money right. Do you all ever use any like real life stories or real time stories to kind of share? Yeah.
Absolutely. When I talked about the program Finance Spark that we do, the young lady that facilitates that program is always using the most current stories she can find to say, all right, you saw this happen, this is why, and this is how you avoid it.
Gotcha.
And so, we always try to make it as relevant as possible and to use examples that they see and hear every single day. And then also to get them to understand that those things that they may see each and every day are not going to be real for the most of us. And so we've got to really think through and be able to determine how do we access those things that are real for us. And how do we actually manage those things once we get to them?
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yep.
And then that's got to be part of quality of life. And so is wellness and self-care.
Absolutely.
So when you're not busy with the work of JA, how do you take care of yourself? How do you make sure that you are okay?
A couple of things. One, Dr. Williams, I love to sleep.
Okay. Sleep is good.
Taking a good nap
that's
is always
strategy.
is always a good thing for me.
Yeah.
And I have a very passionate relationship with food, and so I'm a foodie.
Okay.
And when I tell you I'm a food,
cook?
Oh yes, I cook.
Okay.
I eat. I watch people eating. I watch people cooking. Like food is therapeutic for me.
I love it.
And I have that. And then the last thing that's going to be surprising to many people is I play video games.
Oh really? A gamer?
I'm a gamer, and so when I have the time and I need to unwind and disconnect from all of the things, I pull on my game controller and I play Assassin's Creed or whatever it is somebody playing that day, and it allows me to get into a different world and a different headspace I'm usually in.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm glad that you're a whole person. You know, a lot of times people see us as one-dimensional as leaders. You know, but as you think about the work that you're doing and what's ahead, what do you want to be as your legacy?
Oh man. I think that's an easy and complicated question, and so I'll answer it as easily as I can. You know, when I got into this work, the reason why I got into this work was because I was a kid that had JA. And I'll tell a really quick story. I remember being in elementary school, and I had a volunteer that would come to visit our classroom once a week from JA. And every week he would come into that classroom wearing a suit. I don't remember where he worked or what he did, but because that man came to my classroom every week in that suit, I knew I wanted to have a job where I wore a suit every day.
Love it.
Now, ironically, I hate wearing suits now, but the message and the impact was still real for me,
That's
right?
Yep.
And so when I think about why I do this work, it's because it changed me. And when I think about my legacy, if I can do this work and there's a young person that can say they were changed because of the work that I did, then that's the best legacy I can ever ask for.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for what you do for our community, for our scholars, and just for your leadership.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you spending time with me. And
I loved it.
No, we'll get to work together. I'm going to come see you at BizTown.
I hope
we're
so.
We're going to work together on that leadership retreat thing for grown-ups.
Let's do it.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.